yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And we'll start our press review for today from Al Ahram newspaper. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi launches 2 African initiatives today before the UN Climate Summit. Egypt stresses its support of Iraq in its efforts to combat terrorism and control its territories. 2 African initiatives to be launched by President el-Sisi before the UN Climate Summit in Paris. The President meets with world leaders to tackle the latest international developments. The Minister of Environment says financing projects and the transfer of technology are the most outstanding demands of the poor and the developing nations. And Bill Gates launches an initiative worth billions of dollars for the clear energy. To shed more light on the meetings and activities of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in Paris before the start of the UN Climate Summit in Paris, the following report will tell us more.
Abdel Fattah el-Sisi arrived in Paris on Sunday, starting a 3-day official visit to France to participate in the UN Climate Summit. At his residence in Paris, President el-Sisi met with Iraqi President Fouad Massoum. During the meeting, they tackled means of enhancing bilateral relations. The Iraqi president praised Egypt's role in maintaining regional security and stability. Also on Sunday, President el-Sisi met with the CEO of the French aviation industrial company Dassault, Eric Trappi. Presidential spokesman Ala Youssef said that the president has welcomed the CEO of the French company and praised the latest deal of the Rafale planes, saying that it reflects the strong and strategic partnership between Egypt and France, which has been witnessing a leap in all fields. For his part, Trappi expressed his wishes to increase cooperation with Egypt in several fields, including providing Egypt with its military and technical needs, which would help boost its ability to achieve security and stability and carry out with its pivotal role in achieving regional security in face of surrounding threats, atop of them terrorism. Later, the president met with the CEO of the DCNS Military Navigation Industrial Company, who praised the latest military deals between Egypt and France, including the Mistral carriers. He also expressed the company's commitment to continue cooperation, highlighting the strategic importance of Egypt, notably after the Egyptian-French relations came closer. El-Sisi also met with the Director General of the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, the UNESCO, Irina Bokova. President el-Sisi expressed his appreciation to the efforts exerted by the organization to secure the Egyptian museums and heritage sites during the past period. Youssef said that the president said that he was looking forward for boosting the Egyptian UNESCO cooperation in all fields. For her part, Bokova praised Egypt's activities within the organization, which reflects the true civilized Egypt and its historic weight, expressing willingness to cooperate with Egypt to preserve and protect the Egyptian monuments and heritage sites. President el-Sisi has stressed on the importance of confronting organized vandalism and illegal trade of the cultural heritage and emphasized the UNESCO's role in preserving the Arab cultural heritage, including the sacred sites in Jerusalem, Al-Quds. El-Sisi on Monday is to address the opening session of the UN Climate Summit on behalf of the African leaders.
And welcome back, Ms. Nafisa. How do you see the importance of the current visit by President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to Paris, France, to participate at the UN Climate Summit, and on the sideline of that summit, which will be inaugurated a few minutes from now, he met with several world leaders. So how do you see the importance of that visit?
It's very important to be among the leaders actually who rule the world in such a very hectic and changeable era of time. It is. So it's important to be among those. It's one important thing that el-Sisi is not representing Egypt only in this summit. He would deliver a speech representing the African states. Yes, indeed. And if we can say, it would reflect basically the demands of all the developing state in the world. So the two initiatives that are to be launched today in front of the summit, actually regarding the energy and the climate, would be representing mainly the developing countries to obtain, and I think they would concentrate on obtaining the technology and financing the project to have clear and renewable energy in the developing countries. So it would be very important because the rich countries have talked so long about the climate change and about how to take care of the globe, and but still they did not exert enough efforts to combat this change and its effects on the people. Mainly, actually, it hurts the more poor people in the world more than any other. So I think it's our rule as developing countries to stand together and stick together in one position, asking the rich countries who actually participated much more in ruining our climate to shoulder their responsibility in trying to fix what can be fixed right now.
Hopefully. And still with the same issue, and it comes from El Masri اليوم, page 5. Sisi meets with Hollande and participates in the UN Climate Summit today. Sources say the Paris attacks increase the intelligence cooperation between Egypt and France, and the French government prevents the private vehicles to secure the conference, and free public transportations for the residents, huge demonstrations against climate change, and of course, another newspaper tackled the issue, which is اليوم السابع. Sisi delivers the African speech before the UN Climate Summit today. The president holds a series of meetings with Hollande, Vallée, and Larchies. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi arrived in Paris on Sunday, starting a 3-day official visit to France to participate at the UN Climate Summit. At his residence in Paris, President el-Sisi met with Iraqi President Fouad Massoum. During the meeting, they tackled means of enhancing bilateral relations. The Iraqi President praised the Egyptian role in maintaining regional security and stability. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on Monday is to address the opening session of the UN Climate Summit on behalf of the African leaders. And to shed more light on the issue, Ines Higazi will tell us more in the following report.
Government and business leaders are banking on clean energy technology to fight global warming, kicking off this week's high-stakes climate change negotiations by pledging billions of dollars to research and develop a technical...
Big from the summit. Maybe the Gates, Bill Gates initiative would be even bigger than anything else that would happen, for example. So what would be more concrete, actually, that would come out from this summit is some agreements in more political issues rather than climate issues. So, and even those, maybe this the attacks against Paris actually has helped in moving the sides of the world leaders to terrorism and to discuss politics instead of discussing climate.
Of course.
Even if they wanted to invest more in combating climate change. In such a situation, they would make the priority to combat terrorism.
Do you believe that all the incidents that took place in Paris, in the region, concerning, of course, the rise of terrorism and the threats which are taking place throughout the world, will overshadow the meetings of the summit?
It will be at least in the meetings that are on the margin of the summit.
Of course. Of
course, it will not be,
not the speeches,
basically,
of course.
Yes, but it would be a major issue to be discussed during this summit, especially with those old suspects about new terrorist attack in different European countries, which is very sad. Despite, for example, the Avaz activists who were planning to demonstrate to combat the climate change, and they were forced actually to turn their demonstration into an online demonstration instead.
Yes.
Because of the procedure, the security procedures in Paris.
Of course.
So it has to be. It would be part of the discussions and the meetings about regarding what's going to happen and how to cooperate between different countries.
Indeed. And back to Al Ahram newspaper, and we read from the page 1. Today, the rerun of the second phase of the parliamentary elections for the expats. 426 nominees compete for 213 seats in 99 constituencies. And Egypt embassies open their doors for the voters, and international observers start arriving to monitor the rerun of the second phase in Egypt. The administrative judiciary refuses all the appeals of the second phase in Cairo. And still with the same issue, but this time from El Masri El-Yom. Today, the last round of the House of Representatives race with the vote of the expats, and 38 countries follow the rerun among the international missions and emergency at the Ministry of Interior to secure 99 constituencies in the final round of the parliamentary elections. And still with the same issue, but from El Sabagh, the parties start the campaign of withdrawing confidence from the cabinet and consultation between the parliamentary blocs, preparing to form and to evaluate the program of the government based on that form. Ms. Nafisa, how do you see the preparations for the parliamentary elections which will take place tomorrow in Egypt? And today it has actually started in worldwide countries for the expats.
Actually, the state is, is now an expert in organizing elections. Because during the previous 4 years, we have witnessed elections more than any other country in the world. So regarding the organization and security and all these things, it went very well and very smooth. But actually, what's really important to me is that finally we will have a parliament, regardless to anything else, because it would be very important to have a different voice. Some people who are discussing politics instead of insulting each other on media outlets. So what would happen? And actually, what happened during the first round and in the second round, first phase, and in the second round, is that some good members have been elected on especially on the individual seats. So maybe to me, this is my personal point of view. Whether the good and the bad thing,
yes,
it's personal, very personal evaluation. So, but I think those few good members that had been elected would have a very different voice than the rest, which would create basically a political debate, which is very important and very crucial to Egypt in this time. So I'm happy that we are about to
expect
have
a good turnout to take place starting tomorrow, Ms. Nafisa. Do you believe, because during the run of we might see an increase of in the participation, but do you believe that we will see a good run, a good runoff, a good participation, a good turnout?
I think it depends. It depends on the different constituencies, because if the individuals that are rerunning for the elections have much support on the ground, we will witness an increase in the voices. And some people who were reluctant to vote in the first time because they are not sure about who is running
now
for
the choice
this election.
Is quite limited.
So the choice would be limited. So if there are some popular choices in some constituencies, the turnout would be increasing.
Hopefully.
If not so, it would be people are tired, and it's whatever it's their choice, and they choose not to go in a very big number and a huge number to these elections. And so I think nothing would be making it 90%, for example, change.
Yes, of course. And back to Al-Ahram for more local news, and from its front page we read: a popular funeral for the martyrs of the police in a popular and military funerals, and amid calls for avenging the martyrs. The residents of El Fayoum, the Qahliya and Menoufiya bid farewell to the martyrs of the police in the Giza terrorist attack. And security identifies the elements involved in the attack on El Manawat checkpoint. The two attackers belonged to a terrorist cell in Badrashin that was behind the attack on 3 police checkpoints. And from El Masri El Yom, and from the front page we read: a rally in the funeral of El Saqqara martyr in El Mansoura, and identifying the assailants. The investigations into a Saqqara checkpoint attack revealed that the incident aims at hindering tourism in the area. Witnesses say the attack lasted for 3 minutes, and the two assailants threatened us with rifle automatic machines and questioning cell that targeted the checkpoints, and thousands bid farewell to the Saqqara martyr in Mansoura, and the governor of Aswan pays his condolences to the family of El Arish martyr. Of course, still with the black hands of the terrorist attacks, 4 of our police officers were killed in the checkpoint in Giza, and people, of course, went in thousands during their funerals to express support and condemnation for the terrorist attacks.
So it's very sad to witness those attacks being repeated. Still, actually, it's homemade. Let's say it's homemade phenomena. Even if it is supported in some other areas in the world by other forces. But basically, we have the basic ideas for terrorism planted in our history and in our minds. So I think it's very difficult to end it, and it will not end except if we really combat its basic roots in our history and in our ideas. Until now, nothing had been happened on the cultural and ideas level regarding combating terrorism. Al-Azhar talks very nice speech, for example, about how the Islam is, how the real religion is, but still nothing had been done to the curriculum. Nothing had been done regarding, merging the equality and coexisting together in our schools' curriculum. So it's very important to raise a different generation, a generation that really accepts anyone else who is different, as long as they stick to the rules and
But how could
it.
that be done, Ms. Nafisa? What measures should be taken, not security measures, but what other measures should be taken in order to avoid these extremist thoughts, this extremist way of thinking from the deep roots, from the beginning?
Actually, this is what I'm saying. I'm not talking about the security measures, because security is doing, actually, at some point they go too far even in suspecting the element. They are exerting a very important role and a very good role in this matter. But if we left them on their own and without this other part of the really fighting
we will witness more terrorism, which is the case also not only in Egypt. We are witnessing that all over the world.
All over the world, because we have a generation that's actually misreading the history or mistaking and reading it in a very disturbed and irrational manner. So what's needed is to have, actually, we can say, if we need to refine our history, we need to refine our old books. We need to have a very new interpretation for our history and for the Quran, by the way. Still. So we need to work on all this, and not a normal person can work on this. It has to be a very intellectual, religious institution that's entitled to do it. So actually there is Al-Azhar, and some people inside Al-Azhar can really do a very great job in this regard. But until now I didn't witness. I witnessed some reactions to incident, but no concrete project on refining our history about it. Nothing new had been said about the normal school curriculum. Actually, we have to decide about, do we really need the religion schools? Do we need to teach some people in a normal schools with this, it's a civil school, and some other people to be taught in a very religious environment?
And
that's
sometimes
actually
extremists.
it's raising extremists right now. Do we need this kind of education? I'm not talking about teaching the religion. Teaching the religion can happen in our normal school, can happen at home, can happen in extra classes, in so many ways. But such decisions about education, about culture, about how media deal with these things, about actually cinema and theaters and art movies, art works that can really work on supporting different ideas. I don't see a project that's actually working on these elements.
Hopefully we'll combat the terrorism from its deep roots. Ms. Nafisa El Sabagh, the journalist and chief editor of Masriyat, always a pleasure to have you with us, and have a lovely morning.
Thank you.
And with that, our viewers, we come to the end of our press review for today. Now we'll go to a short break, and after that we'll be back to resume the segments of the breakfast show, so don't go away.